Well, hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here with my dear friend, Colleen. Now, I have known Colleen for, I would say, 4 years. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's about 4 years. But every time I get to meet with her, either in person or a conversation like this, I get to know her better and deeper, and our conversations even matter more. So get ready for some conversation that could possibly change your life. And I really, truly believe that. So, Colleen, I would love for you to just share a little bit about who you be, since we love that conversation, so people can feel your heart and feel your passion.
Well, thanks for having me on, Debbie. This is so exciting. So I love to be here with your friends and share a little bit about my heart and my life goal. I have two really big life goals. Is one is for every person who comes in contact with me to feel God's love for them through their interaction with me, whether they believe in God or not. So that's one. And then my other really big goal is to empower women to invest in real estate, women over 40, people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s to invest in real estate so they can have financial and time freedom to do the things that bring them joy. And currently, right now, there's about 37 to 39% of all investors in the United States are women, which is significantly very low, right? I have two granddaughters that are 3 and 5.5 right now. And by the time they're grown up, I would like the numbers to really slide towards the women. And so also when I go to real estate speaking events and again, summits and things, it's all men on the stage except for maybe a token woman or two. And I would like to change that also. So, and I'm not would like to, I'm in the process of changing that. And so anyway, that's what
Oh,
I do professionally, right?
yeah. And it also is who you be, because I love the way you spoke the passion and the
Mm.
purpose in those things, that's what you're changing dynamics. And I think we're here inside of the Be Extraordinary Women's Network, specifically because we are celebrating women that are making extraordinary moves in the world. And in order to do that, sometimes we have to not settle for status quo. And what you just spoke in those first few minutes was, you're somebody that's here to change the way and change legacy for your granddaughters. And I'm sitting back here just like cheering you on, full high-fiving you, because it's in the moments of, I wish this was better, I wish this was different, and I definitely am not going to settle for it not being different and better for the next generation. Like, I might put up with it for myself, but no, this has to change. So yes, let's get more money into the hands of the women. Number one, they do amazing things when they get money in their hands. And then let's have more women thought leaders that are on stages. And it wraps up perfectly with what I am doing here in the Be Extraordinary, and a new project that is coming up that I'm starting to hint at in the last couple of days. So we are definitely on target to help each other with that. Okay, Colleen, I know that there has been times in your life that you have felt so in flow and so everything going your way, and there has been times in your life that it was not so much. And through those times that it was not so much, you had to make decisions and make moves that changed the way you felt and the destiny in which, or the outcome for your future. Can you share one of those moments with us?
Yeah, I've been trying to think of what I want to share with you, but I know that I don't know who I'm supposed to touch their heart, but if there's something in your life that like you're thinking, I'm miserable, I hate my W-2, my 9 to 5 job, and it's like, is this it? Like, am I going to live out the rest of my days doing something that I don't love and just be miserable and like checking off the days till you retire? Or maybe you're in a bad marriage, or maybe you're having health challenges, or whatever it is. Or maybe you wish you were married and had the love of your life and you're single and you have bad dating experiences, right? I don't know where you're at in your life, but what I can tell you is that when you start using your imagination in your favor and start co-creating the life you love and start asking yourself more questions like, what would I love? I'm going to share, I wasn't planning, I was going to share a business story, but I think I'm going to share something in my personal life with my son. We're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And sometimes you'll see the nickname for us is the Mormons, and the kids go out when they're 18 to 20, and serve a mission, and they wear white shirts and they have the little name badge on their thing. And I think that my son went on a mission when he was 18 to Houston, Texas, and it was a Chinese speaking mission. And I think this applies to whether it's a professional relationship, a business you want to do, a coaching business. I think that I have a life saying. It's called "Miracles are my normal, and everything's always working out for me." And I learned Wayne Dyer was a thought leader a long time ago. He's been dead for a while now and watching over all of us from up in heaven. He lived in Maui, and I used to go to all his stuff, and I read all his books, and he's just amazing. And on his headboard behind his bed, he had a saying that said, "Miracles are my normal." And so he would read it every morning when he woke up, and he would read it every night before he went to bed. And I took that to heart and I added, "And everything's always working out for me." And that's what I live my life by. But sometimes maybe you don't feel like miracles are your normal and everything's working out for you. And we get to decide if we really believe all this stuff. And so what ended up happening is my son was serving a mission. So they put everything aside, don't go to school. And he's out proselytizing, and they're cleaning out houses. He's in Hurricane Harvey, who was in Houston. And they're going and cleaning out, the missionaries are cleaning out other people's homes. And he wasn't feeling well, and his companion was like an EMT, and God always puts all the right people, even in your tragedies. Okay. So the kid that was his companion, because you have to be with your companion all the time. The kid that was his companion was an EMT before he went on his mission. So he knew a lot about medical stuff, right? More than the average 18, 19-year-old kid, right? And my son had never been sick before he went on his mission with really anything. I don't remember him ever really being sick. So he didn't really have a point of reference. But anyway, this kid noticed that my son was always in pain and coughing up blood and really sick and wasn't feeling that great, right? And coughing. And so that kid said, "Hey, I think we need to call the mission nurse." And so that made, and my son was like, "No, I don't think we need to." And but that kid did it anyway. And so he had to go see a doctor. And then the doctor gave him cough medicine and some antibiotics, right? And then when my son and his companion were leaving, the doctor said, "Hey, I know you're really young, but maybe we should get an x-ray," right? So God put a thought in that doctor's head. Maybe we should get you an x-ray of your lungs just in case. So the next day they went and got the x-ray. And then that night, the doctor's office called the mission president's house, which is like the mom and pop of all the missionaries. And he said, "Hey, that kid has supermasses all over his lungs. His lungs are completely covered in supermasses. And he probably needs to seek further medical attention, right, to see what's going on with him." And so what's interesting is they put our son on a plane the next day to come home for us to figure out what's going on with him. And what ended up happening over a series of events is that we found out that Carter was covered in cancer, from his neck down to his hip bones. But what happens in our pain is like what we talked about this before, is like when you get squeezed, like you find out what you're really made of and what you really believe. And maybe you're being squeezed. Maybe you're having severe financial problems. Maybe you're in a bad marriage. Maybe your marriage just ended, or your spouse died, or whatever it is, right? Whatever your like situation is that's difficult for you in this moment, you got to dig deep down inside and figure out what you're made of and what you believe in and what's important to you. And like, this isn't your practice life. And you need to maybe do some inner reflection and figure out what's important to you, and maybe make some adjustments and start taking charge of your life. And so what ended up happening is I was yelling at God in the middle of the night and like, "Oh my gosh, my kid was on a mission. Why would this possibly happen?" Right. And a voice in my head said to me, like, "Do you really believe all that stuff you post about miracles are my normal and living in appreciation?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And he's like, "Well, what do you appreciate about the thought came to you? What do you appreciate about having your son having cancer?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And they had just shown us that day that our son had cancer everywhere. Like basically, like it's a very serious situation. I said, "I can't think of anything I appreciate in this moment, but let me get back to you," right? And so I just hope you'll know that focusing on appreciation, even when it seems impossible, which right now in this moment in your life, it might seem impossible, but your energy and how you're being is crucial, even in your extreme adversity, okay? And so you need to figure out a way to hold the tension between what's really you're experiencing in the moment and what you really want to have happen in your life. And you need to feel the joy of what you are want to experience in your life is already happening. And you need to keep that in your heart and make that your dominant energy level, even when you're not experiencing it. And so the next morning, my son was having another surgery. I walked into the hospital. So it's about 3 hours later, because that was about 3 in the morning. I walk into the hospital and I'm like, oh, all the big donors' names are on the wall, donated by, and all the different levels. I'm like, okay, God, I really appreciate the generous hearts. And I know that these people were entrepreneurs and it took a lot of effort to make this money and personal growth and development, and that they had a good heart and that they made it possible for us to be here today. And then the orderly that took our son to his surgery, he was so funny, making us laugh. And here we're in this difficult situation, and this young kid is pushing us and dancing and laughing, and he has us all laughing and giggling. I'm like, okay, I appreciate the orderly. And then the nurses, I appreciated them. And then when Carter was in surgery, I went back to the room and there was somebody changing his bed. I'm like, oh, I appreciate her so much. And I gave her a hug and let her know. And so I started processing this whole situation through the lens of appreciation on a daily basis. And then I really held the vision of my son being healthy. And so whether your finances are off, or your relationships in your family or your life, or your health is off, or whatever it is, you really have to hold a vision for how things are, not, I mean, how you want them to be, not how you want them, right? And not how they are in the moment. Sorry about that. So what happens is I would visualize my son being healthy and cancer-free, and him burying me instead of me burying him. And I can promise you that it also depends on God's will and his timing, but I know that when you hold a vision for how you want your life to be, that the universe can't help but to work and conspire to bring it together for you and to bring the right people in your life. One time, my son's scans weren't going well, because it wasn't going well. It wasn't, the stuff we were doing wasn't working. And I really felt like we should go to the City of Hope and have this one doctor look at his stuff, but I could never get her to respond to me. And so I typed on Facebook once, hey, does anyone know anyone high up at the City of Hope? I really need to talk to this one doctor. And somebody wrote in the chat, which a childhood friend of mine said, oh, I just moved the new CEO and his admins and staff from Cleveland to City of Hope. And I just transferred them. Let me text him on his cell phone right now and see if he can help you. And about 15 minutes after that text, I got an email from him and the doctor saying that they could meet with my son Monday. This was Friday at 4 o'clock, Monday at 10 a.m. That they can meet. They just need me over the weekend to bring all his scans and all his results and all the notes and everything. And so what I'm talking about is just really living in gratitude and looking for the good, no matter what's going on. And my son ended up being completely healed and is living a great life. And that's not going to be the case for everyone. People die all the time, and we can't. I can't guarantee that your child may or may not die, or that your spouse or your marriage will work out. I'm not in charge, right? I'm not God. But I do know that it's really important to hold an energy for whether you want to be on a stage speaking in front of 10,000 people, or you want to hold retreats where people pay you $10,000 or $5,000 to come hang out with you for 3 or 4 days at a fancy hotel, or do you see yourself having a plane, or do you want to have a charitable foundation where you donate $100,000 a year to help families that are in a cause that's important to you? Whatever it is, if you haven't done it already, and I have a video called My Ideal Life Video, I watch it every day. And I watch myself in this video doing all these really cool things that used to seem impossible because I made that video like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And after 3 or 4 years of watching it, I'm watching all these things unfold of all the things that I said I was going to do. And they haven't all happened yet, but some of them have happened and they're in the process of being more like, oh, this stuff's really going to happen, right? So I would just really make sure that you live in flow and abundance and hold on and process your life in appreciation. And when you get squeezed, make sure orange juice is coming out. Do you really believe that? Like God asked me, you post all this stuff about appreciation. Do you really believe that in miracles? So anyway, that's my answer to that.
Wow, I love that. And thank you for taking us down that journey, because often somebody will say, well, yeah, speaking about miracles is easy for you because, and they already have this mental block. But to understand the place you were in, the tough times you were in, it's pretty hard to have somebody ask you, what are you grateful for in this? And I know that, that came to you as a whisper to share that story, because it's relatable to me and where I am today and doing what I do. That's another story for another day. But where I'm leading with this is, what has the ripple effect been from watching all of those people and showing your appreciation to those people that affected your life, your son's life? What has happened to you or to them because of that ripple effect that's changed with you shifting perspective?
So, what's interesting is I wrote to all the foundations, right? Every foundation and anyone. Ryan Seacrest is, has a studio in that hospital that we were in. And I was on his show, and so was our son. And like he reached out to us because I reached out to him. And it's we do a lot. I haven't not set up a personal foundation yet, and that is on my goal list. We just do all this stuff, ourselves, but we do a lot. What I learned through the process is everyone is really focused on kids who have cancer that are young, and they do a lot for the kids who have cancer that are young. But the problem is when you get older and you're not so cute, maybe, a baby has cancer, a toddler, people, I send out kinds of stuff, but the teenagers and the young adults who get cancer, um, there's just, it's maybe kind of more of an unforgotten group, and so we do a lot at the hospital to make sure that those kids have gift cards to that are prizes and bingo prizes. So we collect, our people in our community support us and do all this stuff to help us, and it's become way bigger than us, right? And the goal is to make it a foundation and make it permanent. So my big thing is to help people with. I also had a son that was in jail, and people have a lot of opinions about moms who have kids in jail, right? And so I've been judged pretty harshly by people in the community, right? Inside and outside my faith community. And they've been such powerful teachers in my life because they don't have any idea. And my son has taught me so much, right? And he's out of jail and being productive. He helps people like him now, right? He helps people every day at a rescue mission in an urban setting who are like him. And he taught me so much. And my son with cancer taught me so much because we really don't know what people are going through. And when we just treat people with kindness and respect and love and give them grace, because maybe like someone said something really awful to me at church yesterday, right, in front of a big group of people and criticized me basically. And in that moment, I get to decide if I'm going to be Christ-like or God-like and give them grace and kindness, right? Because they're just also on their path doing the best they can. And maybe old Colleen, like 20, 30 years ago, would have been upset, hurt, indignant, maybe even retaliatory in the moment, And they told me that I was what's the word, babe?
Overbearing.
Oh, overbearing. And so my husband changed it to overcaring, right? We all get to decide how we're going to act or react to all of these things. And my goals, because my son had cancer, I feel like have just grown and gotten bigger because I don't want this thing that we do at the hospital and the stuff I do for the jail advocacy to just die when I die, because I'm the person who implements it and spearheads it every year. And it has gotten bigger and bigger, and we do more and more there. But when the foundation gets set up and we have a director running it, right? And it's paying for itself. And then the money from my assets that I've acquired and the businesses I've acquired through my creative financing and, the purchases that I'm making through my real estate business, right? Then I'm going to set up an infinite banking situation, which this is probably more than you wanted. But anyway, I'm setting up an overall structure so that my infinite banking and my life insurance policy and all of these things will funnel and pay for forever in perpetuity, right? Is that a word? In perpetuity. So when I die, my legacy will be that it will live beyond me. So when a mom finds out her kid has cancer and she's at the same hospital, the same things will be going on, and maybe even different and better and more awesome things will develop between now and then. But it will carry on. Like those people whose names are on the thing, I don't need my name anywhere. I just want these things to continue on beyond my mortality, right? When I return and live with God again, I want it to carry on.
Wow. I hear this and I feel it. And I actually believe that most female entrepreneurs have something like this in their mind, right? Maybe at first you just want to make enough money to put a roof over your families and have a few nice things. And then pretty soon there's more. But at the end of that, when our basic needs are taken care of and we feel safe and now we can be creative, we actually can admit that we desire a legacy, a place where this generation is taken care of and many generations to come. Can you just take me through a little bit of what that looks like in the business of real estate and how you're creating wealth? And then, of course, mentoring females, women, to be able to do this and to step into this, because a lot of them think, no, I'll just let my husband take care of that. And can you just take us through that mind shift a bit?
Yes. And I feel like women have been conditioned not to invest in real estate or to take risks and gambles, right? And I feel like the biggest risk you're taking is not investing, because you're going to work for the rest of your life and you're going to be a burden to society or to your family when you're older, because we're all living longer, right? Age expectancy is longer. And just imagine if you bought 3 or 4 houses, how different your life would be. Or let's say you don't want to buy a house and have a property manager. You could do passive investing instead of active investing, and you could invest in a syndication, put money into somebody else's projects, right? And so there's lots of options. But what shifted for me, and I'm writing a book right now about for women over 40, about not asking permission anymore from their husbands or from society or for anyone else, and to take charge and educate themselves. And I think that if I can do it, anyone can do it. I mean, I barely graduated from high school. And my dad paid me $100 to graduate from high school because I just didn't care anymore. And so my dad's like, oh my gosh, Colleen. And I was already accepted to college, and it's back before computers, so like nobody, like I was already in college. Like I was just like, I don't even care. I mean, I'm sure I was going to graduate, but it was going to be like horrible because I just didn't care. I was going to the beach all the time. And I just didn't care. I was kind of checked out. And so and I was already going to college. So I was like, didn't care. And back then, now today, you could never do that today, because like it's all, they know everything instantaneously now. But I really believe that you don't have to be like a brilliant guru or numbers person, or, do you know what I'm saying? Like you can educate yourself. And when the book comes out, you can read it, or you could reach out to me. If you want to just get started, DM me or text me, call me, whatever. And I think you can join these communities. I joined a community. I've been a real estate agent for 21 years now. So I've been doing real estate, but I've not been an investor until last year. I bought my first investment property. And it was because I never had the money to do it, because between having a kid with cancer and a kid with drug and alcohol addiction problems, over a course of 18 years, I spent a lot of money on other things, right? It's very expensive to have a kid in the hospital all the time. It's very expensive to pay for therapy or rehabs. And so all my money, and kids in private school, I did private school eventually. So all those things sucked up all my money. I was high income, but high outgo, right? I don't know if anyone can relate to that. And so the problem was I'm going to work till I die, right? I don't know if that sounded like a horrible program. So if you're going to work till you die, we should talk because I'm fixing that, right? And so I met this guy at an investment seminar. I saw on Facebook an ad for this thing, an event called Clever Summit. And I went to it in Vegas. I signed up for it. Well, that's a whole story in itself. You have to be resourceful. God told me to sign up, but I forgot. And then about a month or two later, he's like, "Are you going to go to that thing?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." So I went to go sign up for it. It was sold out. I was like, "Holy crap." And I knew God had told me to go, right? I just forgot, right? And so I DM'd the mess. This is what's great about today's world. You can get a hold of anyone. I DM'd the guy who was putting it on and said, "I feel like God called me to go to this event, but it's all sold out. Do you ever take volunteers? You got to be resourceful, right?" That's one of my tenets. Like one of my things is be resourceful, right? And so I DM'd him. He goes, "We do have volunteers. My mom's in charge of them. I think they're full, but here's her email." So I emailed her. She goes, "Oh, we are full. But I was thinking we could use someone if you come a day early and help us unload the big boxes and the merchandise and set it up and get everything set up and move tables. Are you okay with that?" And you'd have to set up the other day and volunteer the whole time, but could you fly in an extra day early? I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all over it. I'm coming." Right. And so I booked my ticket and she's like, "What size shirt are you?" And I'm like, "I'm a medium." And I was doing 75 hard at the time, which is a crazy thing I did. But anyway, so I packed all my own food, went to this event, went a day early, but I didn't have to help set up. I went anyway because what happened is she said, "This is where you let your light shine." And she said, "Hey, there's a private Facebook group for all the volunteers. Can you introduce yourself in there and, let us know what you want to get out of the event?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem." Join the group. And then I commented on all the other volunteers' things and said, "Oh, said something that was meaningful that went with what they were talking about." But they all just posted a picture and everything. I actually made a video and posted this video about what I wanted and what all my goals were and what I wanted to accomplish at this thing, right? And so she said that her son reached out to her the next day and said, "I think we're underutilizing Colleen Low's skill set. I don't think we should have her moving boxes. I think we should have her be the face of the Clever Summit. The first person when people walk in the building, that the first person they meet is her." And so I got promoted to the first greeter that you ran into in the hotel lobby, right? But I told her, "Well, I already booked my non-refundable ticket. I'm coming anyway, so I just come help you set up anyway." So which was great because I got to meet them and get to know them, right? And all these other people. And that's where I met Pace Morby, was setting up the day before. He was one of the speakers, and him and his friend Jamil, who was also going to be a speaker, and they partner on a lot of stuff, came in. I was talking to them, and I didn't understand. He buys properties with creatively with no bank, right? And so I actually thought it was kind of a scam because I had been brainwashed, and maybe you've been brainwashed, right? And my broker and different people told me it's illegal and that's not the way we do things, right? And so maybe someone's told you stuff about stuff that maybe it's not true, right? And so I didn't understand what he did, but when I started writing my book, and I thought it was all done, right? And I told God it was done. And I told my publisher that, I think it's pretty well, we not done, but I think and I was saying my prayers that night, and God says, "Your book's not done." And he said, I said, "It's not done." He goes, "Yeah, well, how do people with bad credit or people who've been through had a kid, they maybe had to file bankruptcy, or their husband screwed them over, or they don't make enough money, or, they're just starting out. Like, how do they buy a house, right?" I'm like, "I don't know. How do they buy a house?" I only know traditional way. I don't know. He goes, "That guy Pace Morby that you met, he buys houses without a bank all the time. He owns thousands of properties and businesses that he's bought creatively. You should figure it out." So I reached out to a girl that I met there and joined the group and start studying the stuff and join the community and started adding value to the members of the community, and then learned how to do it. And we bought our first investment house in Texas with no bank, right? And then we bought an apartment building passively with Pace that he bought creatively, and went to the grand opening there and just started adding more and more value and going to more events that Pace was at, and meeting more people and networking. And I'm really now know how to do it. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyway, so that's kind of how it works.
Oh my. Okay. I need to unpack this. Everybody has to go back and listen to the hints and the tips behind the tips. So number one, you listened. You knew you were meant to be there. You got resourceful. But when an opportunity or a ticket or an opportunity was given to you, you didn't just go, oh, I'm just going to show up, put my head down, do the thing. You needed to shine brightly so they could see the true potential here. And that is who you are and what you do in everywhere. And it's never, an ego that's telling you to show up. It's that you know that somebody needs you to shine brightly so that you can be a resource to them as well. I've witnessed that over and over with you. So it's beautiful. So if anybody's listening to this, we've talked about, hardships. We've talked about lack of money, lack of time, frustrations, overwhelm. But there's always been that thing of listen, have faith, be guided, know your truth. There's a theme and a through line through all of this. And one of the things that I love and value about you so much is that you have conversations with God. And I'm sure a few people picked up on that, is that she's like, and then he told me. And it's literally a true, honest conversation. And that to me feels so empowering that number one, you know it's happening. But number two, you speak about it out loud to share with people what is your secret. What's your secret sauce? It's that you really honestly are able to have a conversation and be present and listen and then take action. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I wasn't born with this gift. I actually believe every person can have this gift. Every person, right? And somebody walked by. That's so fun. Hubby? Yeah, he's cute. Okay, so what's so fun is I actually believe, Debbie, that every person can seek after and develop this gift if they chose to. That is my opinion. This is just my opinion. And I'll tell you why I believe this. So this is why our pain is a very powerful gift to us. So my grandma had this gift, and I thought she was, my grandma had two-way conversation with God, but when you're a kid, you don't really think too much about stuff, okay? It wasn't until my son was involved with drugs and alcohol, and I was really out of my element with, as a parent, as a mother, and I could tell there was a pretty good chance that I was going to have to bury this kid eventually. Like, we were on a serious trajectory of wild, crazy, risky, severe behavior. In fact, just last night, he was telling, he was somebody from our investment community spent the night here last night and the night before, and she spent the night here before a couple months ago. And so he's seen her a few times because we have actually had the opportunity. His roommate sold the house he was living in and didn't give him much notice. And so he asked if he could move in here. And it's been the best thing ever. We've just loved having our grown adult son to reconnect and to really just have this great relationship that was, we had such a rocky, time for so long. But anyway, so what happened is I could tell as a mother that there was a really good chance that I was going to have to bury my son. And so I wanted to make sure when I came home from his funeral that I looked myself in the mirror when I had to brush my teeth that night and wash my makeup off. This can really I don't think I share this with too many people, but anyway, I wanted to know that Colleen Low had done everything she could as a mother to try to prevent this day from happening. And I told God in that moment, I said, I'm really out of my league. I have no idea what I'm doing here. And I need instantaneous answers. I got answers to prayers before that, but maybe like reading my scriptures or maybe at the temple of our church or at church or talking to some friends and I'd be, oh, that struck a chord. I've been wondering about that. But I needed instantaneously to know at a drug house or at a drug den, or when I see my son here or there, or whatever it is. And do I go to this door or that door? Should I try and pull him out of it? Do I bully my way in? Whatever it is, I need to know in this instantaneous second, this is life or death. What do I do? Do I turn right? Do I turn left? Do I push a little here? Do I not push a little here? Do I call the police? Do I not call the police? Do I press charges, not press charges? Like, I need to know, do I send him to camp? Do I have someone come pick him up in the middle of the night? Like, I just need to know in the moment, what would you do? You're the ultimate parent. and I need guidance. And I said, you must talk to someone two-way. And then I remembered, oh yeah, my grandma had that, right? And so I'm like, okay, teach me how to do that. And so I started really paying attention and asking and getting tutored. Like, who do you want me? I ask every day, who do you want me to check on? What do you want me to do for them? And then I go do it. And sometimes he asks me to do some pretty scary stuff, and it's hard. I'm pretty used to it now, right? I eliminated all violence out of my life. I don't watch violent things or things that would detract from the spirit. And I have to forgive very quickly because contention blocks me from the spirit. And I'm pretty hard-headed. Redheads can have fiery personality. That might be a generalization, but I can, hold on to a grudge better than most. And so I had to learn to let go of contention and irritation and sadness. And the person who can irritate me the most is, of course, my sweetheart, right? Because we live together and work together. And so I have to learn to let go of contention and release that quickly and just look for the good in everyone and not let things bother me to block me from the spirit. But I believe that when you talk on the phone to someone, if you do all the talking and then you just say, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen, and you hang up, which is how most people pray, you just hung up on God before he got to talk. So the first thing he told me is listen as long as you talk. Before you hang up on me, start listening to me. So I just like, okay, I prayed for 10 minutes. I'm going to listen for 10 minutes, right? And so I just got better and better at listening to those downloads that would come during the listening. And now it's just a constant conversation, if that makes sense, in the shower, in the morning, thoughts. But it is my voice. It is my voice. But I've learned to differentiate it. Anyway, if that explains it.
It totally explains it to me. And if it doesn't, if anybody out there is like, I'm blown away, I need to know more about this. Again, Colleen has actually told you, go ahead and DM her. She is amazing, having conversations and real relationships. She's not somebody that's just on the other side of a camera that you'll never be able to have a conversation with. So please know that Colleen, I could talk to you forever, and I almost feel like this last piece of the conversation needed to be a separate split interview. So I might split them up just so that people can really tap into the one that they wanted. And there's part 1 and part 2. That's what I'm hearing. But the last question that I want to ask you is, because this is a group that's for extraordinary women making extraordinary moves in this world. And then what is the ripple? What is the outcome you would desire, but also what is the outcome that you didn't even know it was possible? And now you're witnessing it. With that in mind, what would you tell women in here that are thinking, that's for you, but I don't know if it's for me, or maybe not yet, or I'm lost, or I'm confused? You know who I'm talking about or to. Can you just speak to their hearts right now?
If you're thinking, well, that worked for Colleen, but that would never work for me, that's just a lie you've been telling yourself for a long time that you've come to believe. And maybe it's even part of your character. Joe Dispenza, it really helped change my life. He's a thought leader. I don't know, a psychiatrist maybe, or psychologist. I don't know exactly what his degrees are in. But anyway, he talks about when something happens to you and you believe it and you tell yourself a story about when it happens, it's just a thing that happened in the moment. But when you regurgitate that over and over, it actually becomes part of who you are and your identity and your character if you let it, right? It's a story that we've complained about or shared so much, or been told by other people that you're shy, or that you don't take risks well, or you don't understand numbers, or you can't analyze a deal, or whatever it is someone's told you, right? Like I'm on commission sales. Like I was a teacher before this, right? Like whatever the story is, like my life goal growing up was to be a stay-at-home mom, and stay-at-home moms are like the best. They're the cheerleaders. That's the hardest job ever. But I'm just letting you know that was my life goal. That was my life goal. And whatever your life goal is, and you're raising a human as a stay-at-home mom, right? Like holy crap, you're creating the future. But whatever it is, whatever your goals are in this moment, just because there's 2 phrases, yet and up until now, are so important. I haven't done that yet. I haven't been a numbers person yet, or I haven't been able to bet on myself up until now. And make sure the affirmations and the stories you're telling yourself are so are manifesting the things you want to bring into your life. And also, it's just a story you told yourself, because I remember that when I learned to question my thoughts, I just thought thoughts happened. I didn't know that we could control them and question them and analyze them and be like, hell no, I don't make an agreement with that. What? That's great. Of course you're worthy of being a millionaire or billionaire. Of course you should be interviewing billionaires and multimillionaires and having lunch with them and going shooting with them or whatever it is. Like, I have manifest all these things that I was supposed to go with my mentor Pace, hot air ballooning. And I was so excited because it's on my bucket list to go hot air ballooning. Well, the wind was so bad in Phoenix that morning, while we were at his office getting ready to go, they cancel it. And now we're going shooting, and I'm scared to death of guns. Okay. And my family loves guns. And I'm the only person in our family that is like, guns are the devil, right? And that's a story I've told myself forever. And all my family loves to go shooting and hunting, and they love it all. Okay. My mom goes to the shooting range. I grew up with shooters. My kids, they're all love it. But I've always hated it. I'll never go. The new activity is shooting at a shooting range. And like, positive peer pressure is important, because I decided to suck it up and go, even though I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Skeet shooting, right? Where you shoot those things, those clay pigeons. It ended up being so fun, but I was almost not going to do it, right? But like, this is my day, right? And I went and had so much fun, but it really taught me that it's just a story I told myself about these guns and the skeet shooting and the hunting and all that. But I told myself that for so long that I believed it. So whatever you've been telling yourself or been told by other people for a long time is not your truth. You can recreate yourself every day. And not just every day, every moment you can recreate yourself. And so I would decide and get clarity. I'm really big on vision boards and ideal life videos, and your back screen of your phone of your ideal life popping up all the time, and start spending time visualizing what if it could work out, instead of why not you? Why does it have to be someone else? And just start asking myself, what do I love? And just start doing it, connecting and going after it. Why not you? I totally, you guys, I used to spend all my time, I know it's hard for you to imagine, crying, complaining. I hated every aspect of my life. I was ready to divorce my husband. I hated really being a mom and raising my kids. I was a terrible stay-at-home mom. My life goal did not turn out like I thought. My kids cried and were miserable and threw up and spilled milk everywhere. And they're wonderful kids. I love them, but I'm just saying, like, it was not what my vision of it was like and what was happening in my life. I would complain to anyone who would listen to me, and I cried a lot, and I decided to change every aspect of my life, and you can do that too. You're definitely living below your divine privileges. And it's time to stop doing that. And you got to draw a line in the sand and decide you're worth it, because you are your divine. You are created in God's image. And it's time for you to start living a life you love. And it could be anything. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, go and what you feel called to do, just start doing more of that.
Oh, wow. Mic drop moment. This was a perfect way to end this interview. Please, Colleen's going to be inside of this group. She'll come in and comment on anything that somebody said, but make a connection. That's really what it's about here, is that we've introduced you to extraordinary women. Now it's up to you to make a connection. Thank you, Colleen, for coming, and thank you for just being such a light in this world. It's just beautiful to witness.
Debbie, thanks for having me, and I can't wait to connect with everyone. Let's do this. Let's go have fun together. Let's go paddleboard together.